guys, Renata Sander here from MeetAdvisors.com, and I'm joined with Erik Severinghaus, founder and CEO of SimpleRelevance. How are you today?
Fantastic. It's nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in. So I want to start off with asking you, who are you and what is SimpleRelevance?
Sure. So SimpleRelevance is a machine learning platform focused on digital marketing. The idea behind this is if you're a big company, you've got millions of subscribers, folks that are coming to your website, maybe getting email from you, et cetera, figuring out how to get the right message to the right customer is very difficult. Everybody talks about this. There's lots of tools around this. What we do is we use machine learning, so artificial intelligence basically, to comb through these massive mountains of data and figure out if you're going to send an email, how do you get the right message, right customer, right content. Then when that customer goes to the website, how do we make sure that we prioritize the right content on the website? How do we really drive that personal experience through all the different channels by which the customer is going to interact with the brand?
So who do you see using this platform more? So maybe like what industry or what specific kind of company?
Our biggest clients are typically sort of Fortune 500 business to consumer type organizations, usually around e-commerce, financial services, and then also media.
Okay.
So we've got published case studies or published public relationships with folks like Gannett that does USA Today, as well as Deal Chicken, folks like Allstate, where we were one of, we won this essentially opportunity to do a big deal with Allstate. And so we've got a variety of different clients that kind of fit within those rubrics.
So do you guys write the content and everything, or they give you the content and you just do it?
Yeah. We're really good on the data science, like the really geeky stuff.
Okay.
We don't do content at all. All right. So we're not a marketing organization. We're not an agency. We learn stuff just simply by nature of the engagements that we're doing. We obviously have some best practices and some suggestions. But at the end of the day, what we do is we work with these organizations that have massive amounts of content. Okay. And we help them do the right targeting. So what we find, actually Columbia Business School did a survey, and they found that 49% of chief marketing officers said their biggest challenge to the use of big data in marketing is an inability to use the data that they have to create the right experience for their customer. And we're seeing this over and over again. So organizations have content, they have stuff that they want to share. They pay lots of people to develop all this really cool stuff. And then they have tons of data about their customers. But it's that middle point. It's that figuring out what do you send to whom and being able to do that at scale that's really, really difficult.
So you guys literally figure out exactly what group of people to send which article or which piece of whatever content to.
That's exactly right. And I guess the one thing to even understand is there's a lot of folks out there that will look at things in group by group, so segment by segment. What do we send to men versus what do we send to women? What do we send to people that have bought before versus somebody who's never bought before, right? And that can be useful. Breaking people into segments is helpful. We actually go all the way down to that most granular unit. So rather than doing sort of a top-down of taking a big list and trying to split it into a couple different segments, we start down at the level of the individual customer. And we say, what do we think this customer is going to respond to? And then we use that to actually take all the different options and say, okay, here's what we're going to send to this person, here's what we're going to send to that person.
So you could be like, people that live in a 2-mile radius of this, who are women, who have children.
Yes, that's exactly right.
In second grade.
It's unbelievably granular.
And so kind of moving away from SimpleRelevance and more focusing on you, how or why did you choose to become an entrepreneur?
Sure. I kind of always have been, to be honest with you. So going back, I was one of these weird geeky kids in middle school that was, writing computer code when everybody else was playing outside. And when I got to undergrad in college, even in high school and then especially into college, I was just fascinated by starting. I loved building my own software, and I loved writing my own code, and I was just fascinated with this idea of building a business that was doing cool stuff. And so really, I mean, I started founding businesses, kind of got serious about it my freshman year of college, and I was fortunate enough to get to be part of an organization, work with a couple guys who founded an email service provider called iContact. So that went from literally the prototypical dorm room startup to an exit a few years later for $180 million. That you kind of look at that and you go, oh my goodness, like that's kind of this unbelievable ramp, right? That you sort of see in the movies, but when you live through it, it's an absolutely fascinating experience, and it kind of gets in your blood. And it's something that I spent 6.5 years at IBM, and while I was at IBM, I think every year or two I ended up almost leaving, because I always wanted to get back into this world of startups. And so it's always just kind of been in my blood.
So you've always stayed in this kind of field, so more technology and...
I've done some other stuff. So I helped a couple friends. We put together an organization that actually bought up all the Papa John's territories in Chicago.
Okay.
We opened a bunch of Papa John's pizza franchises.
All right.
Exactly. At one point, myself and a friend created this board game startup that we were doing around our alma mater, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. It was like Trivial Pursuit for UNC Chapel Hill. So I've sort of dabbled in a variety of different things that I think are interesting. But at heart, the place that I've always invested most of my time and most of my passion has always been on technology-based startups, because the innovation to me is I don't know, it captures my interest in a way that almost nothing does. Just how fast the world moves and how fast the innovation moves absolutely fascinates me.
And so what have been some of the challenges you've seen growing multiple businesses?
Challenges, man, there's all sorts of them.
Oh, you had them?
Yeah, right? No, it's all a dream come true. You know, there's the typical challenges. So figuring out how to get capital is always, I think, the biggest challenge, right? It's the one that a lot of entrepreneurs fixate on. How do I mean, you know, the biggest challenge was, how do I make sure I have enough money in the bank to make sure I make payroll, right? As you start to get beyond that sort of near term, and we've been very fortunate, we've got great investors here in Chicago. They've been extremely supportive, and so capital's been sort of less of an issue for us. So then you get into this challenge of, given the fact that what we're doing is very complex, but we also want to make this very simple for our clients. How do we make sure that we've got the right team, the right culture, the right tools, the right processes to be able to do all this stuff at scale, be able to do it in a way that creates a ton of value for our clients, and do it in a way that we're building a foundation now that we can continue to grow on. We've grown the company almost 10x from last year to this year.
Wow.
We expect to grow between another 5 and 10x when we look at this year to next year. And so what I'm always sort of looking at is, you're always kind of trying to figure out, how do you balance? How do I make sure that I'm solving the problems for clients that I have to do today? But not take my eye off of that longer term vision of, how do we make sure that we've got the right people, tools, technology, and processes that we're going to be able to continue to grow the business.
So how do you do that? So, I mean...
So what are the answers?
Yeah, so what's the answer?
Right.
So how have you overcome some of your challenges? What are some of the things that you've done to do that?
I mean, I guess some of the things that I'm usually thinking through, I try and read a lot. What I find is, almost any of the challenges that I'm running up against, it's something that somebody else has probably already found. Like, I'm not doing anything all that new here. And so there's typically been great books written about it. I guess, rather than relying on myself and thinking, oh, I'm going to be smart enough to figure all this stuff out, I'm going to do it fast enough. It's really trying to build a core team of mentors, other entrepreneurs that have been there. Again, books, these different sources of knowledge that allow me to get much better, much faster. You know, I've never been CEO of a company of the size that SimpleRelevance is. And you know, each time that we continue to grow and level up, it requires something new from me as an entrepreneur. And so, so more than anything, I think it's making sure that I'm surrounding myself and constantly working with and talking with people that allow me to continue to raise my game.
That's great. And so, kind of ending our segment, I want to ask you, what is that one piece of advice that you would give to our community of entrepreneurs and Meet Advisors?
The one piece of advice, the biggest one that I would say is, somebody taught me this when I was in undergrad, and it's just stuck with me forever. 90% of the business decisions that you make don't matter for the business in the grand scheme of things. You need to get them right, or sorry, it's not a matter of getting them right. It's a matter of making a decision that's directionally correct and continuing to iterate over time. Okay, so people get caught up in, what corporate structure should I be? The reality is the corporate structure doesn't really matter all that much. Ask a lawyer, come up with a guess, and then get that done and move on. Right? Which accountant should I use? It doesn't matter. You don't have enough money that you have to worry about how to do the accounting on it yet. Right? 10% of the decisions in your business are truly important, right? How do I provide value for my clients? What's my pricing model maybe? It depends on the business.
Yeah.
But that 10% is really important. And one of the keys to entrepreneurship is getting that 10% right, taking as much time as you need to, making sure that you nail those. Mm-hmm. And the 90%, being decisive, getting them done quickly, trying to be directionally correct, and then make the decision and just move on. Spend your time on the stuff that actually matters to your clients.
That's great. So, what's your website and where can people find you?
Sure, absolutely. So the website is SimpleRelevance.com, SimpleRelevance. And then you can always email me, Erik@SimpleRelevance.com.
All right. Guys, check out SimpleRelevance.com and check out MeetAdvisors.com for more videos and blogs. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.